I mean, I think what's happening in California is people like Sergey are getting involved in a way that we haven't seen in a long time. So he has spent over $50 million trying to kind of oppose this wealth tax that is being proposed in California. And we start out this story by talking about this interaction he had with the state's governor, Gavin Newsom. It actually took place at a Christmas party by another billionaire crypto titan, Chris Larsen, and Sergey Brin and Gavin Newsom were in a treehouse. And Gavin Newsom was confronted by Sergey, and then weeks later, Sergey left the state for Nevada and started bankrolling this political fight we're seeing right now.
We've seen so many stories about these executives leaving the state. When you actually crunch the numbers and look at, okay, the Mark Zuckerberg purchase of a home in Florida, Peter Thiel left a few years ago, you have Sergey Brin, as you feature in the piece. When you crunch the numbers, is it just a couple prominent and very incredibly wealthy individuals who've left, or are they all leaving?
That's a really good question. I mean, the people that we've seen leave, definitely Sergey is one, Larry Page, also Google co-founder, Peter Thiel has claimed to have left the state as well. I think there's a handful of very vocal and very wealthy people, but not everyone. I mean, Jensen Huang is still in California, and he's kind of been on the other side saying, hey, like, you guys can tax me, essentially whatever you're gonna tax me. It's the price of doing business in California.
What exactly is the tax? So what is it like?
It's not something that we have to worry about.
No, but I'm
Yes.
just curious because, I mean, is it going to make them destitute? And I'm just trying to understand here.
Oh, totally. So the tax is a one-time 5% levy on wealth above $1 billion. So this is their illiquid holdings in their stock assets. It could also be levied on fine art and vehicles. I think what makes a lot of people like Sergey nervous is the way they've read the proposal. They think it's also going to tax their voting interest in a company, which often outweighs their actual financial holdings within the company. So that is actually up to debate, and the people that have drafted the measure say this is not going to tax your voting interest, but your voting stake within the company. But that has kind of spurred Sergey and others to be very conservative about this. And is it going to make them destitute? I don't think so, but it will definitely raise tens of billions of dollars if it was passed and survive some, legal hurdles that it's sure to face.
Eliyahu, as you point out in the piece, Gavin Newsom, the governor, he does not support this. He said in a statement, quote, "The governor has been very clear with everyone, no matter who they are, that this effort will do serious damage to the state, including for public safety workers and schools at the expense of one special interest group." Can you talk about that group that argues that this would be a good tax, why they're doing it, and actually if there's a chance that this thing actually passes? Because the way you described it, and I think a lot of critics have said, this would be a really hard thing to actually implement because because wealth is very difficult to actually, especially stuff that's not tangible, to actually determine.
Yeah. The group behind it is SCIU UHW. It's Service Employees International United, and then the healthcare union branch of them, they're a subset. And they are led by this guy named Dave Reagan, and he has been a real big proponent of using ballot measures in California to kind of affect policy change. So what they have kind of realized is they can raise spend millions of dollars to qualify something for the ballot by gathering signatures, and that could have a tens of billions of dollars impact. So, so their kind of policy here is they're saying the H.R. 1 bill that the Republicans in Congress and Donald Trump have passed, that's leading to that's going to lead to hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. I think it's maybe up to $1 trillion in Medicare and Medi-Cal cuts over the next decade, and they're looking for ways to backfill that. And they think that this is the way to go about it, which is taxing billionaires in California. Getting at their wealth is going to be very complicated. It's not something you can just snap your fingers. It would be kind of a years-long assessment of how much they have stored in their houses and their companies. But they have been kind of fairly clever in crafting this legislation or this ballot measure because it has a retroactive clause. So anyone that was living in California as of January 1st, 2026 would be qualified for this. So if you left January 2nd, they're still going to try and get some tax revenue for you. Sergey Brin left the state ahead of January 1st. He moved to the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe. He bought a mansion in this town called Incline Village, and he's claiming to have left the state. So some people left ahead of it, some people have left after, but it is going to be a big fight if it does pass. If, whether the question, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, but Alphabet's still in the state, right?
Alphabet's still in the state, yes. I mean, Silicon Valley has a huge pull. It's a hard place to leave. The entire AI boom is taking place there. People want to be in offices, and it's not an easy time to kind of leave the state and try and work remotely or commute into the state. So I think the union behind this is understanding that this is a time to kind of strike, and there's also anti-billionaire sentiment, and there's an idea that this is the right time to go after this revenue.